All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto our power, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who also were well. Peace and salutation to those that are hopeful elect. All right, pretty much going into the spirit of prophecy. All right, we just had, lunar blood moon. Okay, and we just had a planetary alignment. Okay, and these are all signs that let you know when you see these signs and then you link them up with other things going on in the earth. All right, the freaking the World War III and how that freaking skyrocketed. All right, and how they're talking about a draft. Okay, you're seeing the digital system, the beast system, the new infrastructure is already in place. So now the last things they're talking about is actually implementing the CHIP and a new digital currency. Okay, all while Americans are complaining that they're feeling the effects of a collapsing society. Okay, and so that just lets you know, all right, that we're in a time of Yahweh Shema Shai's return. Okay, and there's going to be a lot of chaos taking place leading up to it. So this is Luke 21 and 25. It says, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations. All right, and that's what you see. There's everywhere you go on the earth is distress. Okay, and Esau, the so-called white man, is the one ruling the earth. All right, but underneath his rulership, you got nothing but chaos. Okay, you got nothing but wars. You got nothing but confusion. All right, the earth is at the lowest state that has ever been. Okay, so it says, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. All right, and the biggest scare, or the biggest thing that people shy away from having a conversation of, is the threat of nuclear destruction on American soil. Okay, but now these things, they wanted to shun the prophets after all these years about us speaking about, the way that America is going to be destroyed. All right, but now these things are being presented to these people and it's unavoidable. All right, they're being confronted with prophecy. All right, and unbeknownst, all right, here it is, they still disregard, the voice of the prophets that have been speaking on these things for years and still is speaking on these things. Okay, but now these, the threat of nuclear warfare is real. Okay, it says, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Okay, and that's going into when the thermonuclear missiles get let off. All right, the Lord is going, those missiles, you read about that in Joel, the 2nd chapter. All right, how none of them shall break their rank. All right, there's going to be 200 million, nuclear warheads en route to America. So that's going to make shit shake. All right. It says, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. All right. So that cloud represents the fathership. Okay. Yahweh Shai, he's going to return with standing upon that fathership. And every eye is going to see Yahweh Shai. Let me actually get a quick precept. Real quick. Revelation 1 and 7. This is Revelation 1 and 7. It says, behold, he cometh with clouds. And there goes that key word, clouds. All right. There's already clouds in the sky. All right. The Lord, he's not going to come, on a flying nimbus. All right. Like Dragon Ball Z. The Lord, those are code words. All right. Or terminology concerning the so-called UFOs or the UAPs. Okay. Those are the clouds. Those vehicles of Yahweh Shema Shai, the vehicles that the angels ride in. Yahweh Shai having the fathership. It says, behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. So every eye is going to be able to see our Lord Yahweh Shai when he returns. All right. He's going to return in the midst of the thermonuclear missiles being let off. It says, and they also which pierced him, was as going into reincarnation. All right. It says, and all kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. All right. Because the Lord is going to be looking angry. All right. And these people of the earth are going to know that the Lord is not going to be on their part. All right. The Lord is going to be for their destruction. And that's why when Yahweh Shai show up, the only ones that are going to be delivered are the elect. Okay. So I'll continue to read in Luke 21:27. It says, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory, yet power. It says, and when these things begin to come to pass, meaning the prophecies, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. So the salvation is near. All right. That's why, the Spirit has been going in on locking in to the Spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai. Because, let me actually get this precept real quick. This is 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8. It says, be sober. And that word, and sober, not, literally, not, because you can have some yayan, some strong drink in moderation. All right. But this is speaking of being sober as, being in the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai, being rooted, being grounded. All right. Being occupied in prophecies. Okay. Watching. Okay. It says, be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour. So the spiritual demon Satan already has these people in the world. That's why, they're not going through, the type of spiritual torments that us individuals that are in the faith of the hopeful elect, they're not going through those type of torments that we're going through. Yeah, these people are going through hell, but they're just going through hell because their quote unquote heaven is being messed up, is being jacked up. These people, they're feeling that burn, or they're feeling that squeeze, of a collapse of society. All right. And when you listen to these people, state their grievances concerning their situation, all right, none of them is speaking about the kingdom. They're talking about how they can try to fix America, which is unfixable. All right. But none of their solutions is speaking about America being destroyed and that the kingdom of heaven being established on earth in righteousness. All right. So to hell with these people. All right. But Satan already got these people. Satan is putting extra hell on those that are in the know. Okay. Which you will have to be an Israelite to be able to receive this truth and believe in Yahweh Shema Shai and be delivered. All right. But if you have this truth, that's why, you're going through afflictions. We're going through afflictions, I should say. All right. It says, verse 9, whom resists steadfast in the faith. All right. And when you go into the word resist, it means to fight. And how do you fight the spiritual demon Satan? By being, locked into the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai, whether that be reading, hitting your lessons. All right. Going into prophecies, going into the histories, looking up certain words, praying to Yahweh Shema Shai. In some cases, some instances, we may need to go on fast or different protocols. All right. But we constantly have to abound in these things while we're here. All right. While we're still subjugated, to being, attacked or trying to be overthrown by these different evil, unclean spirits. All right. So it says, knowing that the same afflictions are accomplished in your brethren that are in the world. All right. So Satan is going after the body. OK, all the members of the 1/3 of the elect. All right. Starting off with the 144,000 prophets. All right. But Satan is going hard at the body, man. OK. But, that's the reason why Yahweh Shema Shai told us to put on the full armor in Ephesians. OK. I'm going to continue to read. It says, but the Most High of all grace, who hath called us unto his eternal glory by Hamashiach Yahweh Shai, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, establish, strengthen, settle you. Okay. So ultimately, if we're of the elect, then, the spiritual demon Satan is going to try to go hard and will go hard But in the end, it's all going to work out to the betterment of the elect, all right, to be more rooted in faith, all right. Let me actually get a quick precept. It's in Romans, the 8th chapter. I believe brothers already know where I'm going with this. Romans 8. This is Romans 8:28. It says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, to them who are the called according to his purpose. So we've been called unto the purpose of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, a greater cause. All right. And the Lord is raising us up in righteousness. Okay, we're standing in the righteousness of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. So when the world tries to condemn us or try to come up against us, because inevitably, according to prophecy, that will take place, all right, Yahweh Shema Shai is going to justify us in the face of man. All right. And that's where you get the miracles. That's where you get, the spiritual power. OK, and things are going to work in the favor of us as long as we're doing the things that's pleasing to Yahweh Shema Shai. All right. Because the danger is coming. The collapse is coming. All right. That thermonuclear holocaust is coming to America. And we wish to be delivered out of these things. And while we're here, there's going to be there's going to be a period of time leading up to Yahweh Shai's return. Okay, so while we're here again, we got to be locked in the spirit and do the things that Yahweh Shema Shai told us to do so that we can get through, the different daily, obstacles that's set before us. Okay, because the Lord called us into a higher purpose. Okay, and, you look at the great men in the scriptures, King David, all right, the other great prophets, the other great men of the Lord, they all had to overcome some sort of adversity in order to, achieve a higher level of greatness. Okay. And for us, we want to be crowned by Yahweh Shai, all right, for keeping the faith all the way until Yahweh Shai returns. Okay. So, we have to give an effort and we have to strive, okay, to achieve that. And the Lord is long suffering too. Okay. So there's going to be times, where, this thing is going to feel lengthy. All right. But know that all things work for the betterment of the elect. All right. And ultimately, the Lord is really fortifying his men. Okay. Verse 25, it says, for whom he did foreknow, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son. All right. So this is all about predestination. Okay. Those that are of the hopeful elect, Abaratazah, we part of that number. Okay. Hey, it was already predestined for us to be called into this truth, which is why we're here now. Now, Lord's will, it was predestined for us to be chosen as well. It says, he also did predestinate to be conformed to the image of his son, that he might be the firstborn among many brethren. Moreover, whom he did predestinate, them he also called, and whom he called, them he also justified. Oh, that's the spirit. All right, going into Yahweh Shema Shai is going to justify us in that time, as long as we continue to do what he told us to do. All right, which all we're doing is preaching the word. All right, going into the scriptures, going into our history. All right. And the Lord is doing everything else. The Lord is making his words come to pass. All right. Now, this world is going to come up again. They say, they hate the messenger. All right. Well, Yahweh Shema Shai is going to intervene on our behalf. We don't have to worry about that. Okay. And on top of that, it's already rigged. All right. The elect are already programmed. It's already the whole, video game is rigged, so to speak. The storyline is rigged. The elect is going to make it no matter what. Okay. So we have to lift up our heads as we read earlier, because we're seeing, shit hitting the fan. We're seeing, the grave times that we're entering to, the time of heaviness. All right. But the Lord said, look up, lift up your heads. Why? Because on our behalf, all right, we're for Yahweh Shema Shai's righteous judgment. All right. We just pray that, we don't fall, in the hands of the Lord to be judged. We pray that we be protected, because the Lord is the one bringing all the terror. Okay. So it says, in whom he justified, them he also glorified. So that's that reward for remaining faithful, being delivered, being changed into that new glorious body, and being crowned ultimately, and being set up into the kingdom of heaven. All right. And established, as in a high office. Okay. In the next world to come, because this current world is going out the door. Okay. Verse 31, what shall we then say to these things? Meaning currently where we're at right now. Are all the challenges that are before us, the flesh, all right, trying to get us to not want to do things spiritual. All right, the flesh that Satan has access to at times. What shall we say to these things? If the Most High before us, who can be against us? So not even our own selves can prevent us from being chosen or being delivered if we're part of that number. Okay. But, the Lord still puts it within our illusion of, the Lord puts it within our illusion of self-control, because there's no free will. All right. The Lord puts it within our own selves, our illusion of free will. All right. So that we have to strive. Okay. So we have to actually put in the legwork. Okay. Because, the Lord will whoop our ass. All right. If we have the spirit of being sluggish, all right, or being lackadaisical, all right, that's not the spirit of Yahweh Shai. All right. So now all we got to do is try to tap into the spirit, and then the Lord will put us in that mode. Okay. To where we won't have to worry about, oh man, I'm slacking. All right. Let me get another precept, and I'll begin to close it out. All right, this is bear with me real quick. I'm trying to find yep, here it is right here. This is Matthew chapter 7. And I'm going to start at 24. It says, therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I would liken him unto a wise man, which the scriptures say, wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of salvation. That's what's going to keep us stable versus the rest of these people in the world when all hell collapse, when all hell break loose. It says, therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, all right, meaning to apply these things, all right, which we're all learning to do more and more, I will liken him unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. So Yahweh Shema Shai said he will liken those that take heed to this word unto a wise man which built his house upon a rock. And what is that rock? Yahweh Shai. Okay, the spirit of Yahweh Shai. Okay, and it says, and the rain descended, meaning, the hell, the catastrophe, or the grave times that will break people's morale. It says, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. Okay, so that's what we want to be. All right, when you read down, it speaks about those, a foolish man, the simple pass on and are punished. All right, those 2/3 of Israel that don't want to take heed to this word, even though they heard the warnings. All right, it's like them building a house upon the sand. All right, here it is. They want to stack money up in the society. They want to, doomsday prep and just depend on that, but not depend on the Lord. Okay, it's like they're building their house upon a sand, which, yeah, it'll be there for a while. It'll sit there in favorable conditions. Okay, but then once that storm come, all right, it's not going to have any footing, any root. So it's going to come down, and the scriptures speak about how great is that fall is. All right, and that's going to be these people out here. But those that are taking heed now, all right, and trying to, grow in the spirit and apply more and more and just make progress with Yahweh Shema Shai, all right, that's whom the Lord is going to have withstand the evil day. All right. And the Lord is actually going to put a heavy spirit to where, you know, you lift up your heads, you rejoice. Let me actually get this in Job real quick. At Job 5:22, at destruction and famine thou shalt laugh, neither shalt thou be afraid of the beasts of the earth. So in destruction, is the Lord's going to put a heavy spirit on his men, that seeing people getting put to death. All right. Why? Because wisdom and knowledge is going to keep us stable, us understanding that, hey, this is judgment from Yahweh Shema Shai. Here it is. These people have been living it up in wickedness. All right. 2/3 of Jake just wanted to be niggas. All right. We're going to see the judgment, and the Lord is going to put the spirit on us to be in a joyous mindset. Why? Because we know that these things have to happen before righteousness is established. And we know that 2/3 of Israel, even though they're going to get harshly judged on this side, they're going to come back in the kingdom. All right. So the Lord is merciful. All right. So, you know, hey, that's why it's imperative to stay locked in, so that the understanding, you know, doesn't you know, flee from us in that time. All right. We want wisdom to meet us in every thought. All right. So that comes with that repetition, constantly sowing in the spirit. So when that time come, you know, we can reap the things that we've sown. All right. Not sowing to the flesh and reaping corruption. So Lord's will, this lesson is edifying. I want to say, call halal Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai for giving me the spirit to do this lesson. Double honors to our apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught us his truth and who also were well. Peace and salutation to those that are hopeful elect. Shalom and a bar.